Are you tired of hearing about the most popular cities? You know, you do a little research on a new place and all you find is information on the most popular places to relocate? Well, suffer through endless repeats no longer. Today we embark on a new series dedicated to number 2s and number 3s. These are places that are often overlooked as great places to call home because they have a more popular or bigger city in that area. And in a lot of cases, these are probably as good or better places to call home. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Reno, Nevada. Reno is a place so appealing they don't just call it the biggest city in the world for nothing. This city rivals most major cities when it comes to things to do. But really, it's just a medium-sized city. If you're looking for a place where you can experience all 4 seasons in a single day, that's what most people say. They leave like Southern California because they want to go to a place with seasons. They say the same thing about Arizona and New Mexico and Texas. Well, you can. They all happen in one day in Reno. Want to shovel snow in your driveway in the morning and bask in the desert sun by afternoon? Welcome to Reno. Or how about a surprise dust storm that keeps your cheeks clenched? It's like living in a meteorologist's variety show, where you never know what's coming next. Buying a home here is a commitment to embracing chaos, but as a drill sergeant once told me, it's character building. Now let's talk about real estate, where the words affordable and Reno still occasionally overlap if you squint hard enough. Sure, the housing market has been in an upswing, but think of it as a sign of how many people just can't get enough of those beautiful Sierra Nevada mountains. I see the Sierra Nevada as like second place to the Rockies. So people that, feel that the Rockies are overdone or too many people are moving there, look into the Sierra Nevadas. One other benefit to living in Reno, you got the beautiful Lake Tahoe not too far away. Sure, you got to be a millionaire to buy a house around Lake Tahoe, but it's still a beautiful place to visit. I'm not a big fan of California or Nevada, but if, I won some major lottery thing, I would seriously look at Lake Tahoe area to buy a home. But what really makes Reno shine is its charm. It's got everything. Casinos, concerts, a great nightlife, and amazing outdoors. I mean, who doesn't want to live in a city where slot machines greet you the moment you land at the airport? Living in Reno means you'll always have something to do. And if you ever do possibly get bored, you just remember Las Vegas is only 7 hours away. Reno really is second place to Las Vegas in this area. There's not a lot of other really big cities. I mean, Sacramento is down the mountain from Reno, and Las Vegas is, like I said, 7 hours to the south. And that's all you ever hear about when you're talking about Nevada is Las Vegas. If you want to move to Reno, the average home value here, it's a little high. It's $551,000. But you get a lot for that $551,000. Number 9, Davenport, Iowa. Davenport, Iowa, where the Midwest meets the Mississippi River. But don't let its assuming flyover image fool you. Buying a home here is a real steal. It's practically a steal compared to some of the other cities in the United States. Housing prices in Davenport are so reasonable that you'd think the city council has mistaken itself for a charity. With charming Victorian homes, bungalows, and a healthy selection of ranch-style houses, your dream home awaits you at the price that won't force you to sell your soul to the devil. And since you'll be close to the Mississippi River, you'll probably tell yourself you'll take up kayaking or fishing every weekend. Though we all know you're probably just going to end up on the couch watching Netflix, like the rest of us. But hey, at least you could be active, right? There's the possibility. Then there's the thriving downtown. You've got breweries, local restaurants, and quirky shops that are just niche enough to make you feel trendy without straining your small town budget. But seriously, there's a good mix of art, entertainment, and Midwest charm here, with none of the pretentiousness you'd find in an overpriced big city. Of course, Davenport's best-kept secret is the people. Friendly? Yeah, absolutely. Unpretentious? Yes, definitely. It's a Midwest thing. It's the kind of place where folks wave at you on the street and you don't have to wonder if they're secretly plotting your demise. People here actually care about their community, which means you won't have to worry about running into a bunch of rude, unfriendly neighbors like, let's say, you would in New York or Los Angeles, where people have had so much plastic surgery they could actually be recycled in front of your house. The only downside, prepare to wave and say hi approximately 50 times a day unless you're inside watching Netflix. But hey, that's a price that most of us will pay for a little kind kindness, and a town that still feels like an actual community, might all be worth it. Plus, think of the arm muscles you'll build from waving all day. Davenport is second place to Chicago. I mean, this area, that's the biggest city, and that's a good drive to the east of Davenport. The average home value in Davenport, Iowa is $171,000. That's as of October 2024. Number 8, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh is like a sneaker city. Now, I grew up by the beach, and you have these things called sneaker waves. They just come out of nowhere. So you're watching normal surf waves. You're out there in the water surfing, and they're just kind of normal. They kind of have a rhythm, and you expect them. Out of nowhere sometimes, these huge waves come through. I think that's what's going on in Pittsburgh. There's an underlying thing that I think is about to explode, and it's its popularity. Pittsburgh, the city of bridges, steel, and let's be honest, endless Steeler flags, is not a bad place to live. If you're looking for a place that gets overly excited about sandwiches with coleslaw and fries stuffed inside, you've found your haven. The cost of living here is surprisingly low for a city that likes to think it's an up-and-coming city, which it sort of is. Sure, the winter chill will slap you in the face like a fresh fish from an angry ex-wife, but think of all the other savings you'll have compared to living in San Francisco or New York or Los Angeles or San Diego or even Miami. Let's talk about the housing. Pittsburgh real estate is a magical land where you can actually buy a home without having a law degree or being the CEO someplace. For the price of a studio apartment in San Francisco that was last remodeled when the Grateful Dead lived across the street, you could snag a charming 3-bedroom home with a yard, maybe even some rustic Pittsburgh charm. As far as location, in Pittsburgh, there's good news. In Pittsburgh, up-and-coming neighborhoods are everywhere. Sure, up-and-coming might just mean you have a brewery within walking distance and a family of raccoons living under your porch, but hey, it's something. One of the only downsides to Pittsburgh is gonna be the weather. It's a balanced diet of rain, snow, and enough gray skies to make Seattle look like a tropical paradise. But don't worry, you'll get a week's worth of sunshine every spring, and you'll know it's that week because that's when they start fixing all the potholes. Now, I bring this up sometimes because I have talked to people where it's annoying. They're not into sports, they move to a sports town, and it gets under their skin. Now, it's something that's really inconsequential to most of us. If that's not your thing, you just don't do it. But sometimes crazy sports fans can get on people's nerves. Pittsburgh has a lot of that going on. These people love the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's like a frickin' cult. Now, I've heard this for years. I've never lived in Pittsburgh, but I know 2 people that have moved from Oregon to Pittsburgh, and they've brought it up to me. And they've actually, sent me Facebook messages and said, you need to talk about the crazy Pittsburgh Steeler fans here in Pittsburgh. It's crazy. Pittsburgh is kind of out by itself, but it always is looked at as just, second place to Cleveland and Philadelphia. And in most people's opinions, and statistically, Pittsburgh is better than both of those places. But since it's smaller, most people will focus on Cleveland or Philadelphia. If you want to buy a home in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the average home value is about $227,000. Number 7, Madison, Wisconsin. If you've never heard about Madison, Wisconsin, it is the land of lakes, cheese curds, and unapologetically long winters. If you're in the market for a place where the winters stick around, like that one guest that just won't leave, Madison's got you covered. But hey, it builds character, like I said earlier. Chaos, cold weather, they build character. So does hard work. Living in Wisconsin, you'll learn something. Your snow shovel gets more work than your bicycle. But look at the bright side. The city's dedication to clearing paths for cross-country skiers and ice fishers is unparalleled. Imagine boasting to your friends that you live in a place where skiing to work isn't just possible, but borderline encouraged. Then there's the Madison housing market. Madison is a rare gem where you could find a decent home without selling all those rhinoceros tusks your great-grandpa brought back from a 1930s safari. In Madison, you can get a cozy Midwestern home with enough room to hang those live, laugh, love signs, and maybe even a yard big enough to justify buying one of those riding lawnmowers. Oh, I have always wanted one of those. Don't know why. I mean, they're just a lawnmower and they go kind of slow, but I don't know. It's like a man thing, I guess. One knock is Wisconsin's got some pretty high property taxes, but at least you get the pleasure of knowing that you're investing heavily in public services, right? Someone's got to salt those roads. And if you're lucky, you might even snag a house with a finished basement, perfect for storing winter gear and hiding from those mosquitoes that magically appear every single summer. And if you're one of those people that, with none of the actual big city problems, Madison is the place for you. The university brings an influx of youthful energy and events, which means there's always something happening, from farmers markets to Friday night fish fries. Plus, the lake views are stunning here. It's a really nice looking city. Been here a handful of times. I love Madison. Madison is sandwiched between Minneapolis and Milwaukee, closer to Milwaukee, and it really plays second fiddle to both those cities. I mean, because the Packers, even Green Bay, which is a lot smaller, not nearly as nice, is kind of a bigger city in popularity to Madison. My opinion, Madison is far better than all three of them, and statistically, that shows too. The average home value in Madison, Wisconsin is $391,000. Number 6, Hickory, North Carolina. Hickory is a place where the pace of life is just as slow as the local southern draw. If you're looking to escape the relentless buzz of the big city, this charming little town offers just the kind of excitement you're craving. History is where you can trade in traffic jams for tractor parades, and the biggest rush hour is the line at the local barbecue joint. And speaking of barbecue, there is no shortage of smoky, tangy, downright delicious Carolina barbecue to keep you full and content. Sure, you might not get any neon lights of a bustling downtown, but you get hush puppies and sweet tea with every meal. What's not to love? Who needs the view of a skyline when you have endless woods and the comforting sight of a Cracker Barrel on every corner? When it comes to buying a home in Hickory, well, it's practically a steal. Unlike bigger cities where you have to sign away your firstborn for a starter home, you might be able to actually afford a decent house with an actual yard in Hickory. Imagine space to stretch out, plant a garden, or even get a grill big enough to make your neighbors jealous. But the real draw to Hickory? The people. It's like living in a real-life sitcom where everyone knows everyone's business, and the local gossip flows as freely as the sweet tea. If you're a fan of community spirit, you'll feel right at home. Hickory folks are all about warm southern hospitality, where come over anytime actually means you'll probably have unexpected guests, and waving at strangers is a local pastime. So if you're looking for a place where life slows down, houses are affordable, and the entertainment comes from eavesdropping on porch swings, Hickory might just be your dream city. Now, Hickory is often overlooked by Raleigh and Charlotte. Those are two very popular cities in North Carolina right now. I mean, Asheville is too, so they're almost coming in fourth. Biggest problem is Hickory's got a little crime. Nothing crazy, but it's got some crime. The average home value in Hickory, North Carolina is about $285,000. Number 5, Greensboro, North Carolina. If you're dying for a place where southern charm meets modern suburbia, Greensboro might just be your nirvana. It's got all the necessities like friendly folks that might actually smile at you in the grocery store, enough greenery to remind you that cities and nature can coexist, and the historic downtown brimming with coffee places and curious little shops. Oh, and don't forget the southern cuisine, because nothing says welcome to the South like your arteries hardening on fried chicken and biscuits at the same time. On the topic of real estate, Greensboro is practically begging you to buy a house. Why? Because it's way cheaper than living in Charlotte or Raleigh. Yep, this city actually wants you here, and they've marked down their homes as if it's a Black Friday sale year-round. You'll find charming brick houses, modern urban sprawl, and enough trees in your front yard to hide from your neighbors if that's your thing. And with property taxes that won't make you cry, you can actually afford to furnish the house that you buy. Maybe even get a love seat. You know, how much is a love seat? You really can't put a price on love, can you? The lifestyle in Greensboro is great. It's close enough to big cities if you need a real city, but far enough away to keep your peace and quiet intact. It's got plenty of parks, breweries, and enough nightlife to convince you that you're not living in a retirement village. Greensboro is overshadowed and comes in second to Charlotte and Raleigh, or third or whatever. The average home value here is about $256,000, and you get a decent house in a decent place to live for that kind of money. It's not bad. Number 4, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Virginia Beach, because who doesn't want to live in a place where sand is basically your next door neighbor? Moving here means you'll experience the joy of finding sand in places you didn't even know existed all year round. But hey, it's called the beach life, right? And Virginia Beach serves it up daily. Virginia Beach is pretty much a tourist town, but then again, it's not. It is one of the more affordable, nice beach towns in the United States. Is it, Honolulu or something like that? No, it's not that kind of beach, but it's still a decent beach during the summer. And it's great for walks on the beach about 9 months out of the year. Maybe not 9, but more than just the 3 during summer. One other cool thing about Virginia Beach, their home prices have kind of leveled out. They're not really jumping up and they're really not going down. They're just either up 0.1% this year and then down 0.1% the next year. It's kind of holding steady. And then the social scene. Virginia Beach is essentially the perfect middle ground between small town vibes and big city amenities, minus the horrendous DC traffic. You'll get all the festivals, craft breweries, seafood joints, and beach concerts you could dream of. So Virginia Beach might be a perfect beach community with a side of seasonal chaos. Virginia Beach is kind of second to Norfolk and, of course, Richmond. The average home value in Virginia Beach is about $400,000. That is outstanding for a beach community. Number 3, Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville is the rocket city where your neighbor might just be a rocket scientist, and the property taxes are low enough to make you wonder if NASA is secretly subsidizing them. Yes, Huntsville is the kind of place where affordable housing actually means affordable, and Huntsville is not a bad place to live. But let's talk about the lifestyle, shall we? In Huntsville, the word entertainment might include some unconventional choices, watching rocket launches, for example, or debating which local barbecue joint has the best pulled pork. Spoiler alert, it's always a tie. There's also a shocking number of breweries per capita, which combined with the southern charm and friendliness makes it feel like every Saturday night is a small town festival. So if you like a bit of science with your suds, Huntsville might be the place for you. The nightlife may not be New York City level, but there's always something to do, especially if you're content with the great outdoors or a round of pub trivia involving questions about the Saturn V. Huntsville also has a really decent job market. It's not all just rocket scientists. Other places might have you scramble for gigs. Here you might find yourself spoiled for choice, especially in tech, engineering, and aerospace. You can even pretend that you're one of those brilliant minds responsible for sending satellites into space, or at least talk like you are when you're explaining your job at parties. I mean, you're in Huntsville, everyone assumes you're a rocket scientist or something of that nature. Now, even though it's not in the same state, Huntsville is often overshadowed by Atlanta, and even Birmingham. Birmingham is a bigger city, and it really takes up all the headlines because it is a dangerous place to live. The average home value in Huntsville, Alabama is $275,000. Number 2, Post Falls, Idaho. Post Falls is a charming little gem that's barely on anyone's radar. First of all, if you love the feeling of a town that's trying to stay hidden, where half the excitement is watching the sunset over the river, then Post Falls is calling your name. Sure, it doesn't have some crazy city center or a thriving nightlife, but who needs that when you've got, well, silence and trees? Imagine buying a home here and trading in the hum of traffic for the occasional sound of a distant moose, and if you're lucky, the soft splashing of the Spokane River. Peace and quiet are often real estate perks that realtors would bring up when you're looking for a home in Post Falls. Interesting fact about Post Falls. About 4 years ago, I did a video and brought them up. I think this is the only second time I've talked about Post Falls on this channel. Well, I had some jackaloon from Post Falls send me an email telling me I have to get city approval, post a video about their city. In reality, it was only like 1 minute of a 15-minute video that talked about Post Falls. This person also suggested that I at least talk to a few people from Post Falls to get the okay to post a video like that. I simply sent him back and said, I don't need approval from anyone unless, I don't know, I'm making a video about what goes on in your backyard. And then the last thing they emailed me was, your day of reckoning is coming. I'm like, oh my God, it suddenly turned into an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from the 1980s. Side note, 3 or 4 years later, that reckoning has not showed up. Okay, now let's talk about the property prices. You know how the big cities, you pay like $800,000 for a house you probably don't want? In Post Falls, you get a front yard and a backyard where you could actually set up some lawn chairs, garden if you want, throw the ball to your dog, all for half the price you'd pay for half the house in most West Coast cities. Why is Post Falls such a great place to live besides peace and quiet? Well, you got plenty of things to do. You've got lakes, mountains, rivers, all nature, all the time. If you're the type that likes hiking, camping, fishing, congratulations, you found heaven. Living in Post Falls is like being in on a little secret. It's simple, spacious, and a great place to buy a home if you're looking for a life that's a little less complicated. Post Falls is often overshadowed by its next door neighbor, Coeur d'Alene, and of course Boise, and probably Spokane to a degree. It's right up against the border of Washington, and Spokane's the first city you get to. The average home value in Post Falls is $494,000. All right, before we get to number 1, if you're thinking about moving to one of these cities, there's a link in the description area below for a website called Home and Money. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country, and they have a bunch of other tools on there to help you with your home buying process. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Fort Collins, Colorado. Nestled in the foothills of the Rockies, Fort Collins is the kind of place where outdoorsy isn't just a hobby, it's practically a way of life. Imagine paying for a house just to be consistently encouraged to leave it to go on a hike, a bike, or kayak your weekend away. You'll find yourself needing an SUV and a new wardrobe just to fit in. And the views? Stunning enough that they almost make you forget about the steep price you pay for real estate here. Sure, this place is not cheap when it comes to real estate, but it might be worth it. It's not crazy expensive like Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, or even Denver, but it's up there. We'll get to that more in a minute. If you like beer, you'll like living in Fort Collins. Practically overflowing with breweries, and somehow every single one of them claims to have the best craft brew this side of the Mississippi. That's like a tagline everyone has there. You'll quickly become a beer connoisseur, not by choice, and don't even think about ordering a regular beer here. If it's not a seasonal, locally sourced IPA, expect some serious side eyes from the bartender. Living here means you're also part of a community that cares about the environment, which usually translates to never having enough recycle bins or feeling guilty about forgetting your reusable bags. And if you're looking for intellectual stimulation, Fort Collins is home to Colorado State University, an institution known for pumping out enthusiastic college kids who are more happy to inform you about their latest environmental science project. The town has a delightful mix of students, retirees, and I'm on a gap year types, creating a unique social scene where you might just find yourself discussing quantum physics with a freshman one day and HOA policies with a retiree the next. God, I hate HOAs. Fort Collins is often overlooked by Denver, of course, Boulder, and even down south, Colorado Springs a bit. The average home value in Fort Collins, Colorado is $554,000, which, for what you're getting, that is not a bad price. All right, that's today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, you'll probably like one of the 2 videos being suggested right now. Go ahead and give those a watch. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.